Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pubco Studios. I'm Nick Trigakos, author of the Thirsty Beagle beer blog on News OK, and I have a very special guest in studio with me today, Dr. Marc Morvan. He is a chemistry professor at the University of Oklahoma, and notably for me and other beer fans out there, he's leading the Chemistry of Beer course being offered on campus at OU and online for OU. Welcome to the studio today.
Thank you for the invitation. It's great to talk to you today.
The course kicked off January 13th. Tell me a little bit about what people who are interested in the chemistry of beer, who maybe have a little bit of a homebrewing background and they want to learn and take part in the course. What can they expect to get out of the course?
The course is the chemistry of beer, and so we're focusing on those aspects of chemistry that are in the beer brewing process, so brewing science. We're not going really in-depth into the brewing process, but we are getting into some of those basic concepts. Why in the mashing do you set it at a certain temperature and leave it there for a certain time? Why do you need to make sure that you have a good solid boil whenever you're doing your hops, and what's the chemical process that's converting those hops to give us certain flavor components? And then also things about what's going on with the yeast, not only the primary fermentation, the ethanol and the carbon dioxide, but we'll also start to get a little bit into those secondary metabolites where you start to convert, again, other components to give you flavor. So it's really talking specifically about those chemical processes that are going on in making beer.
Sure. Now the course started January 13th. We're a couple weeks in, but students who maybe are a little late to the party, they can still get in there and try to catch up at this point?
That's true. The first assignment is due this week, but we will allow late assignments on the first go around. So, it's still plenty of time to get into the course. The course does require a little bit of chemistry background, but what we've already seen in the platform is a great collaboration and peer-to-peer type learning. We have people in the course that have been homebrewing for 20, 30 years. We have people in the course that are just hoping to homebrew, but we also have people from the brewing industry that are actually running their own brewing establishments, and we have people that have PhDs in biochemistry and microbiology and in organic chemistry, and they're really helping out. So even if you have a less than sufficient at the beginning chemistry background, there's a lot of peer-to-peer instruction that's going on that's been really great to watch.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that point up. I'm taking the course, and at the beginning, hey, let's talk about the 4 main ingredients of beer, and and anybody who homebrews can ring those off in 2 seconds, and then it gets into the specific chemical composition of polyunsaturated fatty acids and whatnot. And so, that's a little bit, for a guy who hasn't had a chemistry course in a long time, a little bit heavy. Do those of us who maybe are lacking some of that really advanced chemistry knowledge, do we have a chance in this course? Should we stick with it?
You do have a chance in the course, and I would say stick with it. What we're doing in the first unit is giving you a broad base. So if you look at brewing, the brewing compounds, and that's one of the nice things about the course is that we have the brewing science side of it and the chemistry side of it. The brewing side is very broad and not very specific. And the chemistry is too. We're going through carbohydrates, proteins, lipids. But what we'll do as we go through the rest of the units is we're actually focus. And so you don't need to know everything about every possible carbohydrate. We're actually going to focus on the carbohydrates that are essential to beer. Same thing with lipids. We're going to focus in on those terpenes and terpenoids that actually are the main flavor components in beer. So for those of you that may feel like you're struggling because it looks very broad, it's actually going to narrow and focus into those things that are most related to beer. And because of that focus, I think that the depth won't be a problem.
Sure. Now, how many people do we have taking part in the course right now?
Right now, it's a little over 7,000.
That's impressive. Very impressive.
It's a lot more than we expected.
And if you go to the course website, you see that there's several discussion forums, and it looks like there's multiple comments on each one, and people are really interacting. How would you gauge the response so far and the interactivity of the course with the students?
It's overwhelming. With a course like this, an online course, what you want is a really healthy online discussion. I think because we really brought in a lot of homebrewers and homebrew forums and even local brew clubs, that is already really rich. So we're having small groups, either regional or by their forum topic. coming in and really interacting well. And like I said, I see a lot of peer-to-peer assistance. So you have somebody that's an expert in biochemistry helping somebody that maybe is a novice in brewing, but then you also have the reverse where you have somebody that's been brewing in an industrial setting for years helping out somebody that may have the expertise in chemistry but is a brewing novice, and that's been really, really great to watch.
That's good. Now I know from watching some of the videos, you've got some of our Oklahoma City brewmasters. I know from Coop and Bricktown Brewery. How has the buy-in been from some of the experts, especially specifically in the beer industry and our brewers here? Have they been excited to kind of chip in and lend their expertise?
Yes, and in fact, I really appreciate all of the brewmasters that are on the program. Having the brewmasters and then having the chemical concepts, I think, is part of that integration of the knowledge to really gives us a rich course. We've also have offers from people around the world to assist with the course now that it's actually out there. And so, 2.0, I'm really hopeful that we'll even bring in some of those voices and some of those aspects. But brewers are great people. Ask a question, they'll give you an answer, and they were great to work with, and they were very generous with their time.
And you mentioned people around the world, and 7,000 people. Do you have a feel? I don't know if you can track through IP address or whatever it is, but do you have a feel for like the scope and the reach of this course?
It looks like we're, the last time I checked the data, we had over 80 countries.
Wow.
For this course alone. On the JanX courses, we have multiple open courses on the janx.ou.edu platform. I think we're covering 101 countries now.
Nice. Now, do you want to walk us through our set of beer ingredients here?
Right. So if we look at beer, for those of you that aren't home brewers, you have water, main ingredient. It's going to be something that's very important. Your malted barley, hops, and then yeast. So these are the components. And if we think about chemically what's going on, whenever we take barley and malt it, what's the chemical process that's going on? We're activating those enzymes. So we're getting into a little bit of enzyme mechanics. Then when we add the water and get that up to a temperature, a nice, what's the process? Why do we want it at a certain range? Why do we not want to take the mash and boil it right away, right? And then once we get through that process, we have our wort, it's all nice and ready to go. Why do we add the hops when we add the hops? Why is there a different flavor component to hops if we add it early in the boil or late in the boil or even dry hops? What chemical components are being extracted or converted in those processes? And then, of course, when we cool it down and add the yeast does most of the work. And what's happening in the metabolic cycles to take the sugars that we've prepared and turn it into the beer with the ethanol and the carbon dioxide.
It's all very good information.
Thank you.
Thanks for stopping by today. You can check out more information on the chemistry of beer at janx.ou.edu. That's janux.ou.edu. It's not too late to sign up if you want to brush up on your chemistry of beer and maybe embark on a nice home brewing career. Thanks again.
Thank you.